Hi, Mitch back with you here at MIC Holster Systems. Today we're going to do some instructional stuff using the MIC holster, drawing and reholstering. I had to make cheat notes in order to remind myself of what we're doing because that's what happens when you get over 50. First thing we're going to do is demonstrate that we're working with a safe firearm and an empty magazine. During this video, there are times when I will depress the trigger, so no grief about trigger discipline, please, because we're demonstrating a trigger guard holster, and there are times that the trigger needs to be depressed in order to properly demonstrate the product. We're going to point in a safe direction. We do have a cameraman. Say hi, cameraman.
Hello, cameraman.
Hello, cameraman. There's our cameraman. So we won't be pointing at the camera, we're pointing away from the camera. And each time we'll check, visually inspect, and then drop the trigger. And of course, we won't put our hand in front of it when we do that either. This product is called the MIC holster, originally invented in 1997 by yours truly, and now a federally registered trademark. The MIC holster was born out of need for a non-bulky concealment system that would protect the user and people around the user from accidental discharges. We will give a disclaimer here that no product and no holster is a substitute for good training. So practice well, train hard, train the way you carry, but above all, do train and be very careful. Don't rely on this product to protect you and your loved ones. That comes to you. There's no safety on these guns, and this is not a safety. This is your safety. So always remember that. The MIC holster, the standard MIC holster for the Glock, there are two models. This model fits all the 9s, 40s, and 357s. Just like that. There is another model that we're not going to demonstrate because it would be redundant, that fits all 45s and all 10 millimeters. There's a couple of millimeters worth of width in difference on the frames of the 9s, 40s, 357s versus the 45s and the 10 millimeters. So here's how the holster works. The trigger is down, magazine is empty. The holster is put on the firearms that have a wide trigger guard. Holster is put on this way. It snaps on, plenty of retention. If your holster doesn't have a fair amount of retention, you have purchased a knockoff. Please contact us and we'll take it from there. To remove this holster, you don't want to pull this way because this is the drop tension. When the holster falls out of your pants, it has enough retention to arrest the fall and keep it from hitting the ground. The holster is removed by pulling it in a downward fashion. Pretend that this is around your waist and you've drawn the firearm out of your waist and you're pushing forward. It works like that. So on, like that, off, like that. It doesn't take a lot of effort done correctly. I see guys all the time, they'll put them on and they'll wrap this around their hand and they'll pull from here and they'll go, it's too tight, but it's not too tight. It has to have retention in order to work. Use all the cord. I put a couple of fingers through the cord and I get a running start and it comes right off. If you're trying to do it from here, you don't have a running start, there's no movement, and you can get it off, but it's very difficult. So done correctly, reholstering the MIC, it goes on here and comes off there. We also make a model called the Razor's Edge. A little smaller, less retention, operates the exact same way. You can tell the snap isn't quite as loud and the retention isn't quite as great. On the same way, off the same way. On, off. When using the MIC in conjunction with the Glock, it doesn't matter the position of the trigger. Once the holster's on the firearm, you can work the slide. It has no effect on the holster. You're always safe. You can't shoot your dick because you're using and carrying and wearing a MIC. So that's the quick explanation on the 9mm 40 357 family of Glocks, and the 10mm and 45. Now we move to the Glock 42. Slimmer, thinner, lighter, empty firearm, no magazine here, safe direction, trigger down. With the thinner firearms, you put the holster on from the bottom. Just like that, one hand, it snaps on. Off is the same way, in the same direction. Snaps off like that. On, off. That's the way it works. Plenty of drop retention. It's not going to go anywhere. You're not going to lose it unless you're in a dead run and it happens to come out. The holster is going to retain the weapon. Easy on, easy off, and you always have full trigger protection with the MIC holster. Again, not a substitute for good training and good practice, but certainly a tool in your arsenal to help you not have an accidental discharge. That is the MIC holster with the Glock 42. Now we move to the Smith & Wesson Shield, which is a very, very popular firearm this day and time. Empty firearm and in a safe direction. The same thing. These thinner-bodied firearms. On the website, we've always told people not to clamshell your holster, and that voids the warranty. Those were in the old days. Clamshelling. This is what we call clamshelling. That applied when we made holsters for the firearms that were very wide and very thick. These days, there's so many thin firearms that it's actually easier and safer to put the holster on from the bottom. There's the holster, there's the shield, set it in, it snaps on. Good retention, comes off the same way with a snap. Very easy to do when done correctly. If you wrap it around your hand and you're trying to do this, it's really quite difficult to get off. If you do it correctly, it's very easy to come off. So that is the MIC holster with the Smith & Wesson Shield, 9mm and 40 caliber, same holster, either model, doesn't matter. And last but never least, and actually not even last, we're going to move to one of our newer models, the Ruger SP101. We wanted to do a basic video on the semi-automatics, a large and the smalls, and then something quick on the revolver style weapons. The Ruger SP101 is a full stainless steel gun, full weight, really heavy. This is the MIC holster for the SP101. You can't put it on this way. It has to go on from the bottom like that. Some people ask us why we make a trigger guard holster for a revolver, and to be honest with you, the answer is because you wanted us to. We had hundreds, if not thousands, of requests for a MIC holster for the J-frame Smith & Wesson, and that's the first model that came into existence. The first revolver that we made the MIC holster for was the Smith & Wesson J-frame. Then people wanted the Ruger LCR, which has become very, very popular, and the Ruger LCR with the MIC holster is a really nice combination, and it doesn't matter if you have a 38, a 357, it doesn't matter if you have one of the new 9mm, a long barrel, a short barrel, it doesn't matter. The holster fits all of the LCRs across the board. So when using the MIC with the Ruger SP101, you saw it went on from the bottom. Of course, we should demonstrate that we have an empty firearm, and there will be no need to operate the trigger on this particular weapon. Snaps on from the bottom. Good retention, good strong retention. This is a very heavy firearm. Any of you SP101 owners know this is a solid, heavy firearm. Comes off the bottom, snaps on just like that, off in that fashion. That's the inner workings of the MIC holster with the Ruger SP101. And we'll do one Looks like I don't have a J-frame holster here, so oops on me. Same type of system with the SP101 and the J-frame. You'll hold the firearm, empty firearm. The holster snaps on from the bottom. Use the cord, all the length of the cord, it snaps off. So when you are drawing out of your waistband, if you're doing what is commonly referred to as Mexican carry, the holster is tethered to your belt. You draw out and simply push forward. The holster peels off from the bottom, and you present your weapon. The MIC holster is available for 32 different firearms, all of your Glock handguns, your Smith & Wesson Bodyguard semi-automatic 380 with and without laser, 2 different models. The Glock 42, the Smith & Wesson Shield 9 and 40, the full-size M&P in any caliber, all of the Kahr polymer guns. If you have one of the steel frame Kahr handguns, the MIC holster is not going to work for you. It is engineered to work with the polymer handguns, and it is not a good fit with the steel frame Kahr guns. So your Kahr CW40s and CM40s and CM9s and even the 45s, it works with all of those cross-platform as long as it is the polymer frame Kahr. There is a separate model for the Kahr called the K380. It's a smaller gun, and that is a different holster. We support the Diamondback 380 and the Diamondback 9, the small compact ones, not the new large ones, at least not yet. We get hundreds of requests for a SIG P238, the small 380 and the smaller 1911 platform style 380s and 9mm. We have not figured out a way to do those where it doesn't damage the finish on these very expensive painted alloy guns. And people say all the time, well, why don't you make a MIC for a P238? It's a great firearm. It is a great firearm. I own one. It's a great firearm. But when you put the holster on and take it off 4 or 5 times, this is a non-supported pressure fit holster, and the pressure is on the trigger guard. So by removing it, putting it on, removing it, putting it on, the finish starts to chip on your $500 SIG. And I don't want my $20 holster to peel the paint on your $500 firearm. So for that reason, we do not at this time support the SIG P238. Today is March 17th, 2015, to give you a rough idea of where we're at in time. In the future, I hope to be able to engineer this product to work with the SIG P238. And I'm not a big fan of SIG, large frame SIG semi-automatics like the P320. I recently had the pleasure to shoot a P320 and found that I really enjoyed it. And it's the first time in a long time that I've really enjoyed shooting a SIG handgun. Some people like them, some people don't. Not a big fan, but I'm starting to come around. So I'd say that there's probably a MIC holster in the future for the SIG handguns. We just haven't got there yet. Bear with us, and they should be there before too long. So that is a little instructional video, drawing and reholstering with different models of the MIC holster. Thanks for tuning in. Stick around. There's some more reviews and more videos coming your way. Thanks a lot. Bye.